Hey, Rebel Bankers, this is your host, Chris Noggle, and welcome back to the Real Estate Money School. So happy to have you here. I've got a really cool guest today, someone who originally was from Germany, Jack Bosch, and his company is wild, very different than what you're used to hearing. It's basically land profit generator. So just take that name, and we're going to hear a lot more about that. Just some high-level stuff about what Jack does is in 17 years, they have flipped over 4,000 properties. Now, these are not the flips like you're used to us talking about. This is very unique, very different, and very specialized. So I can't wait for you to hear that. He's an author. He's got a great book out there. And we'll talk a lot about that book, but Forever Cash. I mean, great name, right? Who doesn't want cash forever? So he's got the book and was the author of that. And we're going to talk about a lot of things, but let's talk about you for a second. So each of you are on your journey to becoming a Rebel Banker. And to become a Rebel Banker, you have to get started. So we live in an era where we have all the knowledge and all the information immediately available to us, yet there is so little application of that knowledge today. And you all need to apply the knowledge to get started. And sometimes that's just as simple as grabbing a book or reading a book, whether it be Jack's book or whether it be my book, The Private Money Guide, or Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. Get started. Something will trigger you, and then it's time to roll. So let's roll right into this episode. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Chris.
Absolutely. So Jack, tell us, I know we talked before, but tell us just a little bit about your business, because it's very unique what you're doing, but yet seems like it's such an easy, low barrier of entry. I'm surprised more people aren't doing this. So yeah, tell everybody what it is.
Yes. So we do land flipping. Just like house flipping, like all the house flippers out there are crazy about house flipping, competing with each other. We are land flipping. So the reason why very few people do that is that most people don't think about it. As a matter of fact, even in the industry, there's people that tell people to stay away from land because they say land doesn't cash flow. Well, we have made land cash flow. But basically what we do is we do exactly what the house wholesalers do, just with land. And the process works quite different, but it's actually simpler. So we're looking for people that don't want their land anymore. Typically, it's properties that are worth between, let's say, $5 or $10 and $100,000. It's our sweet spot. And we contact them and we identify those that don't want their property anymore. And we buy their properties, or we put their properties under contract for about 5 to 25 cents on the dollar. So we are not looking for motivated sellers. We're looking truly for the people who no longer want that property and have like the garage sale mentality. I don't want to pay property taxes anymore. I just want to get rid of those. And then when we have them on a contract, we sell them on social media, literally, to like Facebook and other places. We sell them very quickly, as possible, and many times very quickly. And we sell them either as a wholesale deal, because when you put something on a contract for 15 cents on the dollar, you can sell them for half price and still multiply your money multiple times. Or we mark it up to almost market value and sell them with seller financing. Let's say we're 10 or 20% down payment is the equivalent or more than what we actually pay for the property. So we get what we paid for the property right with the down payment, and then we get monthly payments for 5, 10, 15 years afterwards. So we generated cash flow from land in that way. And the beauty of that is that when you deal with land, you don't have to deal with inspections. You don't have to go actually meet anyone. We do this all from here. Like, we have a virtual team that work from home. Nobody goes, looks at properties. Nobody goes, inspects them. Nobody looks if there's mold under the roof, or if there's shingles missing, or if the foundation is destroyed or anything like that, because we're dealing just with land. Google Maps, Google Earth shows us everything we need to see.
See, I love that because it's such a low barrier of entry. You probably have very, very little competition. I mean, I know that just about every single person, when I show them land or we talk about land, they're like, oh, no, not interested. And you're right. No inspections. What the heck are you going to inspect? Oh, the grass is a little long. Hey, can you chop down those weeds a little bit? Come on,
right.
It's land. And the beautiful thing about land is land always goes up in value over time. That was something that one of the most successful real estate investors that I've ever met, and I'm yet to have him as a mentor because he doesn't really do that, but he's a billionaire. And you know what he does? He buys land. He takes the main street in any town and he basically draws a line on a map one way and the other on that main street. And wherever the development stops, he looks for land to buy, and he does exactly what you do. He does land leases to basically preserve and cash flow that land, and he just waits for that development of that town to push out to where people like Walmarts and Rite Aids and Walgreens want that land. So it's a genius business model. It's actually kind of sad that we're all just looking the other way. Great for you, Jack.
Right, so as a matter of fact, this person could be potentially a great buyer for us, because what we do is exactly what you just described is the path of growth. The path of growth is one of our main areas that we operate in.
Yeah, and he keeps it so simple. And you said that too. The process is simpler. And I remember hearing him, and legitimately, folks, I want you to understand this. This guy that I'm talking about is a multi-billionaire. And all he did is what Jack does. He bought land at the end of towns, and he just waited. He literally just sits back and waits. And what did you call it? The path of
growth.
I got to write that down. Path of growth. And, I don't want to steal the thunder here, but it's just, I'm fascinated, and very rarely on this show do I get something that I'm like, wow, this is awesome. And why the heck are we not doing this? So let's take a trip back in time, Jack, to tell everybody a little bit about how you kind of came upon this. I know we talked, and you're originally from Germany, hence the accent. So tell us, like, how did that happen? How did you go from Germany to now? And we haven't really talked about your successes, but I know people are going to want to hear about the hundreds of sources of income that you have that you talk about in your book. But yeah, just let's give the history.
Right. So I came from Germany back in 1997 to the United States, basically just to finish my college degree and to improve my English. Because my English was okay. I was studying business in Germany. I wanted to get a career in corporate Germany, corporate America, but corporate Germany back then. Had my job lined up and everything already. But I realized that the companies that I looked at, they were becoming more and more international, and they're speaking more and more English. And I realized my English was not up to par back then. So I was like, okay, I got to do something. And the college I went to as a college student still had the opportunity of me going 1 year abroad to the United States, finish that, get credit for the classes I took in the US, and get an American degree at the same time, finish my German degree and improve my English. I was like, that's a triple hit here, right there. It's a grand slam. That's a home run. Let's do that. So I did that and came literally with 2 suitcases, enough money for 1 semester, and kind of had to still figure out where I would borrow the money for the second semester of that year abroad and just studied and put my head down and partied a little bit. Yes, that too. And had a good time. And shortly into that, I met, I realized it was the first time in the United States. I'd never been here before. And I realized that it's really, really a cool country. It's a wonderful country to live in. It's, it's like people are so positive, people are so friendly, people are like, you tell somebody you're self-employed and they're like, oh, awesome, good for you, man, what are you doing, and so on. You tell somebody that in Germany and they're like, isn't that risky? So different countries have different kind of like general kind of like attitudes towards self-employment and so on. And back then it was definitely a wonderful atmosphere, and it still is. And then I also met a lovely young lady who then became my girlfriend. And so we both decided, you know what, she's not from the country either. She's from Honduras, Central America. And we basically said, like, we both love it here. We both kind of fell in love with each other. Let's try to see if this works. And to make a long story short, we're now married 18 years, going on 19 years, have a 12-year-old daughter. So it worked out. So on all aspects, it worked out.
Congratulations.
But what didn't work out was we got a job. So we both got jobs, and then and because you can't, when you come to the U.S. and you work for a year, you're in college for a year, at least a year, you get an automatic 1-year work permit. So I used that work permit to get a job, but after that year, you have to find an employer that's willing to sponsor you the next kind of visa and then extend that potentially, and then ultimately helps you get the green card. Because without that, you can't stay here. It would be illegal in the country. And I'm proud to say that I was always legal in the country. I was legally. Well, I want to make sure, right? You never know. And so I got that job. I found a company that's willing to do that. But what happens is once you have that, what's called the H-1B visa, it's attached to you, and you cannot leave that company, because the moment you quit or they fire you, that visa expires. and you have now 60 days to find another job that reinitiates that visa, or you have to leave the country. So needless to say, it was a bit stressful because I was in the back of my mind. I was like, I need to do the best job I can possibly, which I would have done anyway. But there's always this risk, particularly when the economy started in the 2000s going into a recession. And this company started firing 40% of their employees, and they had 7,000 people. They've let 3,000 people go. And so, and that actually was a time frame that was some of the most painful time frame that I can remember. But it also was the most crucial time frame because during that time frame, my mind shifted. When I saw people being fired left and right of me, and luckily it did not hit me, whether it's luck or the people like me or they knew that it would affect me overly by literally having to leave the country, I don't know. But I hope it was my job performance that was good enough. But whatever it was, I was spared from that. But I saw people being fired left and right, and I realized that this is not how I want to live my life for the rest of my life. I realized I'm here to stay. In the US, you can get fired literally they tell you to pack your stuff and be out and get 2 weeks severance or 4 weeks severance if you're lucky and you're out. And this is very different than Europe, but and it's not bad or good. It's just different. So I realized this is not how I want to live the rest of my life. I don't want to live the rest of my life in fear that the next recession can cost me my job, can cost me, put me in a hole financially, jeopardize everything. And I realized that that I needed to stand on my own 2 feet. Right? I needed to be able to build something that is not depending on a employer. However, I couldn't do it full time because I had to keep that job because the job would give us the green card. At some point of time, I decided that my wife's visa would be added to my visa application because I was further ahead than she was. So now both of our future of being able to live in this country was depending on that one job. And so I couldn't quit it. So I doubled up on it. But at the same time, we started looking around and we didn't know what to look around. And we more or less stumbled into real estate. We literally watched an infomercial at night. We didn't buy their program, but we literally watched an infomercial and we were like, what the heck? $30,000 checks, $10,000 checks. I need to find out more about that. And in the meantime, I'm actually now good friends with the guy that did that infomercial back then. I got to meet him and I got to thank him for inspiring me back then. And we started looking into this and we started dabbling with it. And over the course of 2.5 years, we failed at real estate method after real estate method. We failed at all these different things until we stumbled into land, and we actually got into that through actually tax liens and tax deeds and tax delinquent real estate, because we realized that if somebody doesn't pay their property taxes, they must not want their property anymore. So then we came up with the idea of why don't we send them a letter and see if they want to respond. And indeed, what came back was an overwhelming response rate once we sent those people letters. But what happened is every single response was a land deal. So we're like, what the heck do we do with these land deals now? We really didn't know what to do with those. So it's like, what the heck? I don't know what to do with them. Let me just offer $400 for the first property. That property was worth $8,000. So we offered him $400 and he accepted. And we were like, oh my God, what do we do now? So we closed on the property, we bought it, we drove up there because it wasn't our home state where we live. We drove up there, put a sign on the property, and the neighbor across the street, right there on the spot, made us an offer for 10 times what we paid for it. And we were like, oh my God, this works. And then 2 weeks later, we bought a property for $500, 40 acres in a rural area, of course, not in the city. And we sold it for 10 grand. And then we were rolling. And after 3-4 weeks of that, or 3-4 deals and a few weeks of that, we said, like, you know what? We're not even going to look at houses anymore because we don't know enough about houses in the first place. We don't know how much it costs to rehab a kitchen, a bathroom, replace a roof, fix a foundation and stuff. So we put the blinders on and we went only after land, because with land, you basically don't need to know a whole bunch about real estate.
I love that. Very rarely do I get through listening to somebody and have an entire page of notes. I mean, my mind is going 1,000 miles a minute. And, since this is the real estate money school, it's all about clicking that away. I mean, I love this. I absolutely love it. So, what are some golden nuggets? I mean, I'm kind of going to go off topic a little, but what are some golden nuggets? If somebody really wanted to look at doing this, how would they go about getting started. I mean, I triggered right in on the tax deeds because I know that business.
Right.
I mean, if somebody really wanted the path of least resistance to just look at this and dip a toe in to see if this is really something they would like, because I know there's a lot of real estate investors that are frustrated. The market's at an all-time high. Realtors are telling people that properties are worth $1 million when they're really not. And it's just making a very difficult environment to find properties. When I say properties, I mean houses, but land. I mean, I've bought land before. It's the easiest thing in the world. Like, you don't even think about it. Every year you get a tax bill, and the tax bill's a couple $100 because it's land. What are you paying property tax on? I love the model. So how would somebody go about like really looking into this? And I know you guys teach this, so we're going to cover that in a bit too.
Yeah, we exactly. So we teach this so we can share later on a place you can learn more about it. But when you talk about tax delinquent properties, that's how we started, because we figured if somebody doesn't pay their property taxes, they either need money, which great, they might want to sell the property, or they don't want that property anymore for whatever reason, which also warrants us getting a hold of them. But the thinking that we put behind it, the reason why, well, we attended tax deed auctions and we failed because we had like $3,500 is all the money we had initially. And we had identified an auction in California where there's 3 properties that had a minimum bid of $1,000. He's like, great, we're going to be able to buy all 3 of them. Well, little did we know, when we got there were 100 people attending these auctions, and every single one of these properties was bid up to $15,000 and more. We're like, okay, so we didn't get anything. In the tax lien world, we bought liens, and then 3 weeks later they were redeemed, and we made $3.72 in interest. We're like, yoo-hoo! But that's not how you get financially wealthy, right? I mean, yes, you can, but you gotta have a bigger fund to start with in order to for this interest rates to make an impact on your life. So what we discovered is that the fastest way to get a hold of these people and the least competition way is by using direct mail to the people. And another thing, by the way, we realized is that after having this done for a while, the first like 100, 200 deals, we realized that 80% of our deals, 81% of our deals actually didn't even have any back taxes on them by the time that we bought them. So basically, by the time that we reached those customers, we got a list from the county about who owes property taxes. It took us a few weeks, let's say, to process that and send out those letters. By the time we sent out those letters, 80% of them had actually paid off their property taxes, but they were still willing to sell the property to us. So now we no longer go after tax delinquent properties. We just have identified certain parameters, like properties between $5,000 and $100,000, where the owner's living ideally, preferably out of state, where the ownership has been for X years, and things like that, and a few other criteria that we filter this down. And then those are the lowest hanging fruit. And we use a letter that we have tested and split tested and tested against comparables and things like hundreds of times. And that letter gets us an average of a 4 to 15% response rate, depending on counties, which is obviously about 10 to 20 times higher than the house flippers direct mail. But the other part that I think is a golden nugget is, what areas are we focusing on? So the areas that we're focusing on are very closely aligned to a degree with what you said earlier about the multi-billionaire. So for example, we have 3 areas that we like to focus on, 3 areas. Area number 1 is infill lots. So it's properties in the city, because if you can get an infill lot right now, you can flip that thing the same day to a builder, and the builder will pay you almost full market value for that, because the market is an all-time high. People, the millennials, are moving into the city. They don't want to live 20 miles outside in a suburb. They want to live where the restaurants are, where they can bicycle to places, and also retirees moving back into the city because they want to live their golden years also in urban, nice environments. So if you get an infill lot, you can sell that in a flash. Number 2 is what I talked about, the path of growth. So the path of growth is basically exactly, you take a map of the city where the last development ends and the land starts. That's the path of growth, because there is not that much infill lot anymore left. There's some left over, but not that many. For example, the city of Seattle has 16,000 infill lots left, but that's it. So outside of that, there's lots of land. So you go perhaps 2 miles, 3 miles, 5 miles, or 10 miles out, and you can get an acre that's in the city is worth $500,000. You can get it for, it's worth $50,000 outside of the city, but you only pay $10,000 for that, or put it on a contract for 10, flip it to somebody like that person that you know, that billionaire, for $40,000, they'll glad or $30,000, they'll gladly buy that, and they'll sit on it and wait for the city to approach until that property is again worth $500,000, right? By the way, you can do that yourself too. We hold on to several dozen of properties in the outskirts of town where we know the city is coming closer every year, and we bought these properties for $3,000. They're worth $25,000 now, and they're probably going to be worth $250,000 in about another 10 or 15 years. So we're now holding on to them. All we need to pay is property taxes on them, which is actually not that much. So the third kind of property we focus on is the 5 or 10 acre plus parcels in a more rural areas. That's a different kind of buyer. The first buyer, the infill lot, is a builder. The second one is like a financial buyer that wants to buy it as an appreciating asset and just hold on to it. Or it's also people that just they don't mind living a little bit outside of the city, but they want more acreage. Also, it's retirees that realize that they haven't saved enough money for their retirement, and they want to just basically say, like, you know what, if I retire, I can't afford the mortgage anymore. Let me buy a $30,000 2-acre lot outside of the city, pay it off, put a mobile home on there, and by the time I retire, I have a free and clear property that is, well, but I'm still within 10, 15 minutes at the doctor, at the dentist, at the movie theater, at the grocery stores, right? So they do that. And the last group is the recreational properties, which is the 5 plus acres, a few hours, a couple of hours, 1+ hours away from the city, in an attractive area. So if you're in Atlanta, the Smoky Mountains are like an hour away, right? You're in the Smoky, you're sweating in Atlanta, you want to get out for the weekend, take your RV, boom, right there. You get yourselves 20 acres, 10 acres, 5 acres out in the Smoky Mountains, put your RV there, invite your friends, do the bonfire, do all these things. And this RV industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. People don't want to camp on a campground. They just camp there because they don't know where else to camp. But what they really want is, I mean, how many people would say no if I ask them, would you like to have your own ranch? Like, whenever I ask it in a room, half of the hands go up. They're like, yeah, I would love to have my own ranch. That's what we're offering people. And we're offering them either at a discount price because we're buying them for 5 to 25 cents on the dollar, or we're offering them with great terms of 10 or 20% down and affordable monthly payments, which still allows us to basically get what we pay for the property right back at closing, and then get monthly payments. And you can do everything you can do. The house flippers do. You can do assignments, double closings, all those different things. So that's a couple of gold nuggets. And obviously on the selling side of things, we don't actually go out to the properties. Personally, any one of our team members, nobody of our team members has gone out to the properties in the last probably 12 years. We have been doing this virtually, remotely, Google Earth, Google Maps, Google Street View, county GIS information systems, geographic information systems, gives you aerial pictures, every detail you need to know that the property is nowadays almost in front on your fingertips. So you can we have actually over a dozen students in Germany right now that do successfully deals in the United States, and the majority have actually never been in the United States so far. So it's you can literally do this from everywhere in the world. And as a matter of fact, I'm going down to Germany in a few weeks to do my first seminar in Germany to teach the Germans how to do this from Germany, because we already have so many successful students from over there.
That's awesome.
So, but on the selling side, we use social media. We use Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Zillow. All these platforms are universally accessible, and they're free for that matter.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's okay. I mean, here I am just taking more notes. This is great stuff. So if somebody did want to like get into this and learn from you, how do they go about doing that? And then let's just spend like 5 minutes after that on your book, and then we'll probably have to call it a quit at that.
Sure,
but
sorry,
yeah,
sometimes stay right.
That's okay. This is fascinating. I mean, I got almost 2 pages of notes, so That's rare. That's rare. I do this a lot, and it's rare that I ever even have half a page.
Wonderful. Well, yeah. So if you want to find out more about it, we do teach this. So you can go to Land Profit Fun like having fun. So FUN, landprofitfun.com, and there you can see some videos and watch some stuff and see some and see much more explanation of how this all works. We also have a Facebook group that is a free Facebook group that's called Land Profit Generator Real Estate Investing Group. So because our main program is called Land Profit Generator, it's called Land Profit Generator. Over 6,800 people are in that group, and they're literally actively, all our successful students are in there. I always say, somebody tells me like, Jack, this sounds too good to be true. You're talking about a way to get deals for 10 cents on the dollar with no competition. And so it's like, yeah, I know it sounds too good to be true, but I would invite you to join the Facebook group. At the very least, go to landprofitfund.com too, but also join the Facebook group and see what's happening in the group. There's literally 6,800 people in that group, and not all are active, but lots of activity, people asking questions, helping each other, solving each other's problems, posting on an almost daily basis, posting the new success stories by brand new students that just came in 6 weeks ago. And they're like, I got my first deal, my first $6,500 check, my first $3,000 check, my first $20,000 check, and they are posting this. It's not me saying it; it's they're posting it. And so join us and convince yourself.
That's great. And then just let's tell everybody, I mean, you wrote a book called Forever Cash, and I believe we were speaking, you took the profits from what you've done with land and everything we've just talked about, but then you've also taken that and you've created over 100 different sources of income. And is that what the book's about?
Yes, the book is actually not a book about land flipping. The book is a book about our wealth philosophy that we have learned out of this entire process. And in short, the wealth philosophy is an age-old wealth philosophy that the aristocrats in Germany have and in Europe have been following for hundreds, if not thousands of years, but they have just not been telling everyone. And the basic principle is that when you make an income, that income is not there to just be spent on stuff all day long like most people do. That income is instead as much as possible of that income is supposed to be first saved or invested. First, you invest in yourself and your own ability to have more knowledge, right? Because you can only be as smart with money as you are smart with money. So you need to increase your smartness with money in order to be able to do more. And obviously your podcast does great service for that. And then once you do that, but the bottom line is like, you got to have an active source of income. You got to grow that active source of income as big as you can. And then you got to take as much of that active source of the active income and turn that into ultimately passive sources of income, right? That's basically what we call it. We have in the book, we talk about a wealth wheel, which basically consists of first, make more money. Figure out the method, something that you can make more money. If it's not possible in your job because you're at a dead-end job, or if you're just not, there's just not career opportunities to grow, to substantially double or triple your income, then it's got to be something in those 8 hours that you have outside of your job. Like you sleep 8 hours, you work 8 hours, you have 8 hours outside. You got to take something in that 8 hours and build something like we did. I couldn't quit my job. So we needed to build this business part-time on the side. And even though we did this on the side, in our first year that we figured this out, we did 63 deals. So somebody can do 10 or 20 deals part-time, make an extra 200 grand, and then use that 200 grand and then invest that into passive income sources. So we've built a portfolio of almost 50 rental properties. We built a portfolio of almost 400 apartment units. We have commercial property now. And so in essence, what we have done, we now do land flipping for pure fun. And we have, of course, all these seller financing notes that come in, right? That adds up to a whole bunch more than that. So if we add it all together, it's well over 500 individual sources of income. So the thing is, we now land flip for the fun of it. Financially, we no longer are responsible for it. And also, it took us only 10 months of doing this until we had enough debt paid off, until we had enough cash on the sideline, and until we had enough cash flow from the notes that we were able to quit our jobs, because by that time the green card had arrived. So we figured this out in February of 2003 was our first deal that we did. It was accepted in December of 2002, and by October of 2003, so 10 months later, we were able to quit our job sometime mid-year. The green card had come. I kept working in my job, even though the green card was there, because I didn't feel like I had yet all my ducks in a row. But then 3-4 months later, we had all our debt paid off except for the house. We had but cars and student debt and credit card debt all paid off. We had $50,000 on the sideline, which was enough for us to live for a year. And we had over $5,000 in monthly cash flow come in. And at that moment, we quit our jobs. and only 8 months later, we were officially millionaires. So
That's
it took
fantastic.
18 months after we figured this out. And now we have students actually beating us to it. They're doing it in 12 months and less. But the thing is, after that was done, we realized that in order to, when you keep flipping, you can't retire from flipping, right? If you
transactional.
Stop flipping, your income goes down, goes away again. So you got to take the active income and roll it over. And once we started doing that, now we have just the same or more income coming in from over here than this business makes. So we don't need this business anymore. We're doing it for fun because we love it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So I hope everybody that's watching this is really paying attention to this, because this is really neat stuff. And I can tell you right now, the first thing I'm going to do is figure this out. And then I'm going to basically bring one of the people in my organization that's already doing wholesaling, teach them this, and then just say, all right, have on at it. I don't have time to do it, but you know what? You just duplicate yourself once you learn the knowledge, and you basically put the team together. This sounds too easy. You just put somebody in front of a desk, you teach them the ways, and away we go. So everybody, you really need to take note of this. And you know what, Jack, if people want to get a hold of you and they want to learn more about this, I know you told them earlier, but tell them again how they find out about this and how they research this.
The best way is to go to www.landprofitfun, F-U-N, without the D. So just fun, like having fun. Landprofitfun.com, and also go into Facebook and search for Land Profit Generator Real Estate Group. And there's only one group with that name. And it comes right up. You got a request to join. It's free. Just got to commit to like not spamming and not soliciting and things like that. We want to make sure it's a true group that helps each other. So you answer a couple of the questions. It's like only 3 questions. And then we'll approve you. And then you're part of the group. And then you get to see how successful other people are doing this business and how real it is. And we don't police it. You can ask critical questions. Just keep it positive, and you'll see a whole bunch of answers and discussions. And it's really a beautiful, in my opinion, one of the best groups in Facebook.
Well, that's great. Well, we're just about out of time, so I know all of you have probably gotten some crazy golden nuggets right here. So now it's time to apply them. Just like we talked earlier, this is the time when you're on your journey to becoming a rebel banker, where you learn secrets like this. You learn the tricks of the trade that the billionaires are using, like I mentioned, and this is one of them. So you have to apply the knowledge. But you know what? You probably don't have enough knowledge yet to do this. I know even with all my experience, I can't just go and do this. I got to learn how to do this first, or have somebody in my organization learn this, and then we'll roll this out. So you should do the same thing. So get started on that journey to becoming a rebel banker. And you know what? Thank you all for joining us. Jack, thank you for your time. We will catch everybody on the next episode of the Real Estate Money School. Have a good day.